We now know more about how the U.S. plans to handle the case against NSA leaker Edward Snowden. Attorney General Eric Holder has told Russian authorities the U.S. will not seek the death penalty against the former computer contractor. Snowden faces espionage charges in the United States for leaking sweeping details about the U.S. surveillance program. Right now, he remains in that transit area of Moscow's airport, waiting to hear if Russia will grant him temporary asylum. And on Friday, Snowden's father defended his son during an interview on NBC's Today Show. Take a listen.
I believe that my son, when he takes his final breath, whether it's today or 100 years from now, he will be comfortable with what he did because he did what he knew was right. He shared the truth with the American people. What we choose to do with it is up to us as a people.
So what's next for Snowden, and could a decision by Moscow to grant asylum hurt relations with the U.S.? That is the big question. Congressman Adam Schiff is a member of the House Intelligence Committee, and he joins us now from Los Angeles to talk more about this. Nice to have you here with us, Congressman.
Thank you.
The obvious question here, if Russia grants Snowden's request, what's at stake for U.S. relation ties? Obviously, the relationship is less than perfect already. What could this do to it?
Well, it will certainly further degrade the relationship we have with Russia, and you're absolutely right. It's not at a very high point to begin with. But I think the president should seriously consider, if they grant asylum, canceling the stop in Moscow that's planned for a couple months from now. I think that would be a step that would show our displeasure with Moscow. Certainly there are things that Russia wants from us, many things that we want from them, and a lot of things we have to work on together, like Iran and Syria. But I think at first Putin probably relished the chance to poke us in the eye. Now I think Snowden has become a real headache for the Russians, and they're looking for a way out that doesn't appear to lose face with the Russian people by surrendering him to the United States, but at the same time they don't take steps that irreparably damage the relationship with the United States. And
if Snowden does stay in Russia, what kind of a resource could he become to the Russians? You've got to think there would have to be something to gain from this for Russia if they keep him there.
Well, I don't know to the degree which they already have information from him that they gain from him with his cooperation or they gain from him without his knowledge. Certainly there's probably more they could glean if he is being cooperative. But I do think that he is going to be a continuing thorn in their side, because part of what he is doing is seeking publicity about this. Part of what he is seeking to do, that is Snowden, is to damage the United States. And to the degree that that puts Putin in a continually uncomfortable position, a continuing deteriorating relationship between the U.S. and Russia, it's not good for the Russians either. I think they would be very happy to find a way to get rid of him without losing face, without appearing to be surrendering him to the United States.
Given what's already transpired thus far, do you think some damage has already been done to the U.S.-Russia relations?
Yes, I do. I mean, the Russians had the opportunity well before now to return him if they were willing to do it. And I think certainly they can do this under their own law and under international law. They could simply return him rather than go through an extradition process. So there has been some damage already done. I think both the Russians as well as the United States, for our part, are trying to minimize the damage to the relationship. But we're also sending signals to Moscow that we want this guy back. It means a lot to us. And if you don't, if you send him to somewhere where he'll have asylum or you give him asylum, that's going to be a damaging action in terms of our relationship, and it will have consequences.
And you have to wonder what kind of a life is ahead for Edward Snowden if he does, in fact, stay in Russia. All right, Representative Adam Schiff.
And of course, it's quite an irony that, the first two countries you go to have authoritarian governments where there's very little freedom and a lot of surveillance. So it is an odd irony that he should end up where he is.
Yeah, that's a fair point. All right, Congressman, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your input.
You bet.